Hello, everyone. Today we're going to talk about personalization. Personalization in consumer behavior and marketing, very, very important. Um, what I wanted to do today is to go through a study that a good friend of mine, Karen Imbrogno, did that will really hit home the importance of personalization when it comes to consumer behavior and marketing, market research. So let's start. I believe I'm sharing my screen, but let's make sure I'm sharing my screen. Yep, I am sharing my screen. So let's talk a little bit about the study that she did. So why did they do it? They wanted to better understand the consumer perspective on personalization. They worked with a third-party research company to do the study. It was done online, and it was a large study. They it was, since it was an online study, they didn't talk to anybody, but it was done among 860 respondents. It's a lot, and they did that because they needed to be able to segment their data. Um, so, so just know that there were 860 responses. It was done in 2022. It was done among people that had personally shopped or purchased insurance in the past 12 months. So this is a study based on insurance, not exactly the sexiest of topics, but an important topic nonetheless. They did break out the generations and personas. Persona would be so there's generations, so that's like millennials or boomers or Gen X's. And then persona is a type of person. So one of the people that they focused on, and this is a persona, is Sharing Sam. And this is the individual that doesn't mind sharing a lot of personal information about themselves, assuming that they're going to get a lot of personalization because of that sharing. But understand that that's the difference between a persona and some other kind of demographics like generations. Okay. Don't worry about this so much. This is just what the people have shopped for as part of the study. These people either shop for auto. 84% of the people that they studied shopped for or bought auto insurance in the past 12 months. 48% home, health was 47%, and life was 23%. So that's what those mean. I'm not going to talk a lot about what they were trying to do here. Just understand that they were trying to understand whether or not the brand getting them, meaning understanding them, was important. They also wanted to understand if it was important for a seamless interaction with the company when they're shopping. I mean, seriously, obviously everybody wants it to be seamless. No, I want something that's hard. But really just to understand if there were differences among the generations and other personas. Okay, so that was the study. So now let's talk a little bit about what they found from the study. And then I'm going to go through some actual data too, but let's talk about what they found. So first thing is, when personalization is done well, consumers react positively, and it has a significant impact on whether or not they'll be interested in purchasing from you. Now, I'm going to show you some data on that, but it's really interesting along lots of different lines what the personalization can do in terms of getting you interested in purchasing. The opposite of the positive impact is also true. So when you do things wrong, so when you don't get personalization right, it has significant consequences, especially as it relates to purchasing. It could really turn somebody off from a brand if you don't do personalization well. So the key here is you got to do personalization, right? But you got to do it well. You can't miss. So in today's day and age, companies that are doing marketing, they use a lot of data elements that they purchase from third parties. The company that I work for, my full-time job, we're one of those companies. To do that, you need to have correct data, right? Because what you don't want to do is have the perfect message that is sent to the wrong person. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you do need to get the basics right, right? So you need to make sure that when someone comes to you, and this one is through the website, make sure that it's easy. The website's easy to navigate, easy to get to where they need to get to, things like that, to get a quote for insurance. Customers or consumers are more aware of advertising that's personalized for them or not, right? I'm sure you've seen it. You're on whatever social media platform you're on. I won't say one because they'll date myself. But say you're on Instagram, or, oh goodness, Facebook. I know Facebook more, so sorry, I am a Gen X. You get these ads that are so targeted to me. Like I'm scrolling through, I'm like, why, yes, this is something that interests me. First of all, it scares the heck out of me that you know it, but personalizing it for me, I might actually stop and look at it, right? As opposed to something that's generic. Consumers are aware of this advertising, and they do expect brands to get them. It's I forget, it's like the Amazonification, right? Making sure that you know the person, they know you, right? Me as a consumer, you know me. Consumers' preferences about anonymity does have an impact on how important personalization is to them, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Oh, we went the wrong way. Let's go back. Personalization the reaction to personalization does differ by generation, and I'll show you that in a second. As you might expect, Gen Z and sharing Sam, again, that's the people that don't mind sharing all about themselves on social media. They're more likely to notice a tailored message than boomers, right? Probably no big ta-da there. Consumers expect brands to provide recommendations. Okay, this is part of personalization, is that recommendation. It's not only do I know you, but here's what I can recommend for you. That's sort of the Amazon cart. People that looked at this item also bought this item. And sometimes it's helpful, right? Sometimes not so helpful, but sometimes it is helpful for me to understand, oh yeah, I do need that too. Like, remember, oh yeah, I've got that latent need. Totally didn't realize I need it, but now I know I need it. And then showing an offer for an exact item for a consumer is a big win. Now, it could also be a big loss. And what they're saying here is they haven't given this in this key finding, but I'll give you an example for insurance, right? If you recommend to me boat insurance, right? Insurance for a boat, or let's say I don't have a car and you're recommending a great car insurance for me, but I don't own a car. You should know I don't own a car. It could really turn you off, because I came in for homeowners insurance, and then what they're trying to do is upsell me with car insurance too, to bundle it for me. They're going to give me a great rate by bundling, but I don't own a car, so that kind of pisses me off, right? So that's why it can be damaging. Personalization can be damaging if you don't do it right, but recommendations can be a big win. You can get someone to buy something they weren't even thinking about if you can personalize it and then recommend it. Okay. So let's go on to the actual data. So let me show you some data points to kind of drill home why personalization is so important. So let's look at the generations data that they have. So this is what we call detailed tabulations, and these are the exact percentages. This is, as we remember, 860 people filled out the survey. They had 85 people of this 860 were Gen Z, a lot of millennials, 263, a lot of Gen X, 278, and a lot of boomers, interestingly enough. So they have really good representation of these segments in this 860. Okay, so this question is, when you interact with a brand, how does it impact your likelihood to purchase? Okay, so that's what the question was. And what I'm showing you here is the top two box. So this is the positive. So that is the people that are likely to purchase or extremely likely to purchase, right? So because of this, right? So the first one is your prior history, right? So it brings up your prior history with them, with the brand, right? So if it was, let's say, Geico, it brings up your prior history with them, either your shopping history, or if you're a current customer, it brings up the information for you. Okay, so it does have an impact, a positive impact to likelihood to purchase for around half. No difference, though, among the generations, really. No significant difference, for sure. If there was a significant difference, we'd see something like this down here. Oops. We'd see letters, okay, which correspond to these. So no significant differences here. But just know that about half of the people said that it would have some positive impact to their likelihood to purchase if you knew me, right? You knew what I've done with you in the past. The next one is your preferences regarding communication. So this is, as you recall, on the key findings page, they did talk about that. I didn't really go over it, but the preferences for communication, it's like these outbound alerts. So do you want to be alerted? I found it interesting that the millennials and the Gen X's, so I'm a Gen X, they were more likely to be positively impacted by these alerts than the other folks, either the boomers or the Gen Zs. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of a dichotomy there. Another thing that they measured was if you're shown recommendations. Remember I said before that there is a positive impact to your likelihood to purchase if it's recommended. So here's a really good example. I should have highlighted this one, but the Gen Zs, they are big on recommendations, right? So we'll make those green, make that green and bold, right? So 60% of the Gen Z respondents said that it would make them more interested to purchase or extremely likely, more likely to purchase the product, right? So more than half, so a majority of Gen Z. Alternatively, recommendations aren't as good for boomers, right? Only 40% of those said it had a positive impact. So it's interesting the difference between the Gen Zs and the boomers. The millennials and Gen X's also, over half, said it would give them, it would positively impact whether or not they'd buy the products if it was recommended. So again, the boomers are the differences here. But no difference up here. Remember, their prior history with the brand, that wasn't, there wasn't much difference. It's at least not statistically different. The size and composition of your family. Okay, that really didn't impact it much at all for anybody, right? Maybe a little bit more for Gen Zs, but here's an interesting one. The activities that you enjoy and seek out. So again, you would have to know, as a marketer, you would have to purchase data that says, that gives you an understanding of that individual's activities that they enjoy, hobbies, things like that. So you'd have to know that before you go to do the personalization. But when you do the personalization, it has a significant impact for Gen Z. So if that is your market, having the data to personalize and then really personalizing the message based on the activities you know that they enjoy, that is going to significantly increase their likelihood to buy from you, that specific product that you're trying to market to them. So personalization here, very important. Where is it not? Boomers. Again, not a big surprise. The activities you enjoy does have an impact on millennials, over half, less of an impact on Gen X's. Don't know why. I mean, I would like to, maybe we just don't, us Gen Xers don't have as much hobbies. In any event, I just find that interesting. But again, Gen Z is really important there. Messages that speak to changes in your life or problems you're trying to solve. Boomers, they're like, hey, I don't want you to touch my problems. Don't deal with my problems. My problems are very personal. But it does have some impact on the generations. Okay, so now let's look at gender. So this is for those who identify as female and those who identify as male. So let's just get that right out there. Those identify as female, those identify as male. You can see that there are some significant differences in two areas. One is the prior history, those that identify as female, more likely than those that identify as male to say that the prior history, the company understanding their prior history with their brand, important. And then also recommendations, more important to females than males. Okay, so now let's go to ethnicity. So there is some interesting differences here, not a ton, but those that are Asian, I find this really interesting. Those identify as Asian, less likely to say that the history with the brand has a positive impact on their desire to purchase than than white and Black folks. Interesting. Also, Asians don't like to get the alerts. Also very interesting from the study. Not a lot of other interesting stuff. You know, no other real significant differences there, but just thought it was interesting. The white folks also will make that bold. A little bit more impactful, the alerts, more impactful, and email notifications more impactful to those that are identify as white than those that identify as Asian. So again, difference here, less impactful to those identifying as Asian. Is there any impact? Income. There is some impact from income. I didn't go through it, but I think there's something that you'll learn in your statistics class and probably your marketing classes. There's causation and correlation. Okay. I put this in here. I didn't go through highlighting them, the differences here, because I think that this is a correlation difference rather than a causation. Because I don't think it's the higher income folks that are truly driving this. I do believe it has more to do with your ethnicity, your age, and your gender than your income. But when we do look at this segment, these segments here, the folks that are 100,000 to 150,000 were more likely to say that the company understanding their prior history did have more of an impact on the positive impact on their willingness to buy. And then the interesting thing here, though, is the folks that, and maybe this has to do with, maybe more of these folks are boomers. Again, this is why I think this is a correlation, not a causation, because you'll remember that the boomers said that the messages about, you know, changes to speak to changes in their life problems. Remember, they said that didn't impact it as positively as other ones. It could be that the folks that are making this amount are boomers, so there's more of them in here, and that's what's driving that. So I think it's important. And then the less than 25,000, there's probably more Gen Zs, and remember that was a little bit more positively impacting them. The Gen Z. So it's probably that. So I just wanted to use this as a sharing moment in correlation versus causation. I think the causation really is coming from generations, gender and ethnicity, potentially, not so much in income, which I believe is more of a correlation. So that is what I wanted to show you about personalization. Again, personalization is extremely important when you go to marketing your product. And from a consumer behavior perspective, personalization is extremely important. But from a marketing perspective, you cannot market today without personalization. What they used to call it in my day when I was doing marketing full time, it was called spray and pray. Right? You would just spray the market with your message and pray that you hit the right target. That doesn't work today. You have to personalize in order to get your product sold, really to get your product in front of the right person at the right time with the right message. Hope this was helpful for you guys. Talk to you again soon.